Greetings to you all from Papua New Guinea. Thank you for the opportunity to speak a few brief words to you today. Teaching is both full of frustration and joy, and when I see my former students actively involved in their community, working for justice, peace and equality, working to improve education and alleviate poverty, I'm filled with joy. I spent 6 years in South Africa teaching, and I hope that in some small way I made a contribution to that wonderful country. In the end, however, regardless of what I contributed, I can say that I received much from my time there, that I am not the same person that arrived in Cape Town on a Singapore Airlines flight early in 2006. One of the many things that I received in my time there was an exposure to great thinkers and writers from South Africa that I might not otherwise have read. I think of Desmond Tutu, Albert Nolan, Jonathan Jansen, John de Gruchy, Alex Boraine, Enchi Crocombe, to name but a few of the voices that have challenged and moved me. As you formally launch your ministry today, I'd like to share with you the words of a great South African theologian, Alan Aubrey Boesak. In his recent book, Dare We Speak of Hope, published earlier this year, Boesak writes of the necessity of hope. For Boesak, hope is not some abstract, unreal, disembodied, disengaged, trite cliché. No. Following Bonhoeffer and Moltmann, hope for Boesak is found, and I quote, "Hope is found where Jesus is to be found. This Jesus who was despised and rejected, whose countenance like the face of the wretched of the earth, no one desires to gaze upon." So hope is found where Jesus is found. But where is Jesus to be found today? Listen again to Boesak. Jesus is to be found, and hope waits to be recognized. In the ghettos and squatter camps where poverty, hunger and neglect reign supreme. In the silent and suffocating enclosures of domestic and sexual violence, where fear has dislodged love and mutual respect. In the public spaces where justice is perverted so that the poor and innocent suffer. Out on the hill where the crosses are planted, on which hang the innocent, the defenseless, the resistors who defend the innocent. There is Jesus, and there is hope. Boesak ends his second chapter with a scenario where he invites the followers of God to stand where Jesus stands, to take part in the suffering of Christ and to recognize the hope that is found only there. And I want to finish with his words. We stand with the poor, the exploited and the vulnerable, the destitute, the wronged and the needy, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. We stand with the women, abused and dishonored, who cannot find succor nor safety in a church held captive by patriarchal power, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. We stand with the children who are cannon fodder for war, and child soldiers who are shields for the cravers of power and who feed off war and profit from war, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. We stand with the women and children, boys and girls who are lost, preyed on, caught and trafficked, sold into new and frightening forms of slavery, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. We stand with the hungry and neglected and forsaken of the world, whose hunger and thirst for food and water are as real and as sacred for their hunger and thirst for justice and compassion, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. We stand with the lesbians and gays and all people who are not heterosexual, who are scorned, derided and denied, in whom God's image is despised, those who are hunted and battered and raped and murdered just because God made them different, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. We stand with those who suffer from HIV and AIDS, for whom battling the illness is as painful as bearing the stigma, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. We stand with the powerless everywhere, whose powerlessness leaves them with no options, no choices, and no recourse, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. We stand with all those who have righteous anger and courage to stand in the solidarity or struggle in the hope of the fulfillment of life, and we hold up their needs as holy before God. So today I wish to encourage and challenge each of you as you continue standing with Jesus in the real world, because that is where you will find hope. May God bless each one of you today.